Over the last few days, nearly 2 million people have been exposed to flooding across Central and Eastern Europe, with 3 to 4 times the monthly average rainfall in just a few days, causing rivers like the Danube to rise to a level not seen for a century. Meanwhile, on the other side of Europe, thousands of hectares of forest are burning in Portugal. I want to express my deepest sympathy and my solidarity to the people affected by these terrible disasters, and to send my condolences to the grieving families of the victims of these tragedies. Like many of you, I'm shocked by the dramatic images we have seen over the last few days of people being evacuated from the roofs of their homes, of families left with nothing but the clothes they are wearing, of death and destruction happening right here on our home continent. At the start of the new Commission, we face a Europe that is simultaneously flooding and burning. These extreme weather events that used to be once in a lifetime are now an almost annual occurrence. The global reality of the climate breakdown has moved into the everyday lives of Europeans. It is crucial that together we step up our disaster preparedness and response efforts on a national as well as on the European level to deal with emergencies just like the ones we are witnessing today. Because, make no mistake, this tragedy is not an anomaly. This is fast becoming the norm for our shared future. The European Union is rising to this challenge, developing our crisis preparedness and response capacities through the EU Civil Protection Mechanism to keep pace with the ever-increasing rate of disaster. In Central and Eastern Europe, we have been monitoring the situation closely since 9 September, providing regular updates from the Emergency Response Coordination Centre, our 24/7 operational crisis hub in Brussels, while in close collaboration with Joint Research Centre. And we have been in contact around the clock with the emergency services of affected member states. Thanks to the European Flood Awareness System of the Copernicus Emergency Management Service, we provided early warnings to areas in danger from the 10 September onwards, liaising with national authorities to raise awareness of the situation and to offer help, as well as sending over 100 warnings to authorities across the region by 13 September. Also, upon request from 5 member states, we have provided rapid mapping services for flood-affected areas. From the outset, we have offered assistance and swift response via the EU Civil Protection Mechanism, with personnel and equipment available for immediate response if requested. So far, one country, Czechia, has requested support via mechanism. This request came through yesterday afternoon, and the first offer of support from Slovenia via the mechanism was made immediately. At the same time, we continue to closely monitor the situation and prepare for the next developments. We expect exceptionally high water levels as lower parts of the Oder River in Poland peak tomorrow, along with lower parts of the Danube in Hungary at some point later today. Besides immediate response and assistance, member states can also consider later on requesting financial support from the EU Solidarity Fund, following damage assessment in line with the Solidarity Fund provisions. Honourable members, today we mourn this tragedy and we stand in solidarity with the victims. But we must also look into the future and make sure we are ready when the next disaster strikes, because we are already living in an age of crisis. Europe is the fastest warming continent globally, and is particularly vulnerable to extreme weather events like the one we are discussing today. We cannot return to a safer past. We cannot afford a year off, and we cannot expect current levels of preparedness to protect European citizens from this new, higher level of threat. We must therefore strengthen Europe's disaster response capacity by strengthening the EU civil protection mechanism, including ensuring adequate funding. This increased disaster response capacity must be matched with increased preparedness, prevention and resilience efforts. Because preparedness is an investment in our future. Every €1 invested in prevention and preparedness typically returns from 2 to 10 euros from avoided losses, response costs, and other advantages. The average cost of disasters in the 1980s was €8 billion per year. More recently, in 2021 and in 2022, the damages surpassed €50 billion per year, meaning the cost of inaction is far greater than the cost of action. And that is why we have embraced a common EU resilience agenda, establishing in February last year the 5 EU disaster resilience goals to strengthen collective resilience across European, national and local levels, as well as building our cooperation across the civil protection community and beyond to ensure we stand together against the growing threat of disaster. Concerning floods and other extreme weather events, it is important to mention that the Commission is working closely with Member States on implementing the Floods Directive and on a robust European water resilience strategy, acting together to build cross-border resilience. One of the key lessons we learned throughout this mandate is that such challenges cannot be tackled solely through the limited portfolio of civil protection. It requires an all-hazard and all-of-society approach with cross-sectoral cooperation in all areas on both policy coherence and funding. I therefore strongly welcome the President's recognition of the importance of preparedness in the portfolio of my successor. As the Commission President also announced in the political guidelines, the new Commission will work on strategy that will be inspired by the report on civil and military preparedness presented by former Finnish President Sauli Niinistö later this year. Honourable members, the challenge ahead is larger than ever. But I have faith that together we can build a more disaster-resilient, safer Europe. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Commissioner Lenarčič.